Hey there guys, how's it going? My name is Sumedh Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy, and I'm a flow state coach, which means that I help you feel better and perform better. Today I want to talk about the movie Soul. If you haven't watched the movie Soul, it's by Disney+. It's a Disney movie, it's a kids movie, however I feel that it's definitely for adults as well because it has a lot of deep, profound concepts. It's probably one of my favorite movies just because they mentioned the flow state in it, and I think that there hasn't been a Disney movie to this day that has mentioned the zone or the flow state. So there might be a few spoilers here, so if you haven't seen that, go watch that movie before I dive into this breakdown, okay?
I think anything that requires for you to just unlock a part of your subconscious and let it flow freely is like going into the zone.
What is this place?
This is the zone. It's the space between the physical and spiritual.
This must be where musicians come when they get into a flow.
So in this movie Soul, the guy passes away and he goes to the afterlife, and then he meets this little kid, or I think it's a little kid, it's a soul that needs guidance basically. So he plays the role of like the higher self to help them get their soul's mission, soul's purpose, whatever you want to call that. And in the process he recognizes that he's a nobody, literally a nobody, right? So he goes back to see his past life, where he was alive, and then he impacts the people in his life in that way. And it's a very, very deep story, a deep concept, you know? So I think it was very interesting because all movies have these subliminal messages, right? And I think it's interesting that it was released on 25th December, known as Christ's birthday. And, you know, Christ oil being the colostrum, right? Santa Claus, the Christ oil is what is released in DMT, right? DMT is something that is released right before we die. It is said to be, okay? So I thought that was primarily an interesting factor. That might be just, you know, pulling at random straws, but I think it was a very interesting concept that the movie itself was released on December 25th. And I thought it was very interesting how they kind of were playing up the spiritual antics in this movie. Specifically, like, I like the fact that they had, like, Abraham Lincoln, Carl Jung, like, all of these people who actually could not babysit this one soul. Like, it was so bad, the soul was so disobedient or whatever, that they just could not do it. Like, even Mother Teresa could not take care of this little baby soul, which was so interesting to me. The spiritual antics of, like, the whole Mystics Without Borders thing, I think was really interesting, kind of cool. The fact that they had people, like, this one woman from, like, Berkeley, California, like, goes to show you, like, okay, like, they're kind of making fun of the whole spiritual thing. But then again, it's interesting because they talked about a lot of deep concepts, right? Specifically related to the flow state, the zone. The zone was like this place in the movie where people were just there, you know, they were just in the moment. Another interesting observation for me was that the zone and Lost Souls were two sides of the same coin, so you could actually get stuck in the zone. They kept playing basketball, like you saw Michael Jordan doing it, and if you throw like a little pebble or whatever at him, like he'd fall down or whatever and break himself out of the zone. And that's what I guess they did. So it was interesting to see that people had an external factor to bring us out of the flow state, you know, like people in your life have an ability to knock you out of the flow if they want to, in a sense, okay? So I thought that was really interesting. And I thought it was interesting that they brought up this kind of fifth dimension, almost in a sense of talking about things like remote viewing, astral projection, and these kinds of things. And no Disney movie really talks about that, but I know that, you know, a lot of Disney movies are filled with subliminal messages. You guys know this. I'm sure you know this because it's very obvious. It's straightforward. And what was interesting is, like, they're all named Terry and Jerry or whatever. These helpers, I guess they assign you a mentor in the afterlife, which is quite an interesting concept. The flow state is where the conscious and the subconscious mind meet. I think they were very interested in that pocket or that zone because as the guy, the main guy, he played the piano, that's how he would tap into the zone to be able to actually meet this person and go back to that dude, Moonbeam, Mystic Moonbeam or whatever his name was, to be able to find that girl again. And noticed that she was a lost soul. And when she was a lost soul, she actually changed her physical form into this dark entity. And not being able to have any fun, always being very depressed in a sense. And that scene was very powerful because it reminded me of like how a lot of our self-talk can be when we're in a very negative place, right? And the fact is, the main character, I'm forgetting his name at the moment, but he was telling this girl ways to control her thoughts. So actually using cognitive behavior therapy and speaking to her and being able to give her this like little spinny thing. I don't know what those spinny things are called, but I used to love them in childhood. Like, it kind of felt very nostalgic, that scene to me, where he gave her that like little helicopter seeds, you know what I mean? I found it interesting that it was soul music, right? African American soul music related to the soul. Actually, figuratively and literally, you know? So playing soul to find this person, and of course there had to be music playing in the background. As soon as I said soul music, there had to be some dude chiming in with some very spiritual type of music in the background. I mean, that's just fantastic. Anyway, one of the morals of this movie was that, you know, we have to cherish each moment. We have to learn from each moment and be able to really not take each moment for granted, but live our life to our fullest and be able to just simply exist through the best us that we possibly can. And I think that was a very sweet message, nice message, especially for children watching it. I mean, this movie was way too deep for a child's mind to comprehend, from things like the reset, like the you seminar where they reset you or whatever, they choose your personality traits, the soul aspect, the reincarnation aspect of you just like tapping into your afterlife. Also the fact that they were returning to the light, which almost was a reminder that light was returning to source. One like elevator or like that thing that was taking them into this source code in a sense. No references to God. No references to different religions. They stayed away from that topic, which I thought was interesting. But they did bring up different elements of spirituality, or at least New Age spirituality, like making rituals and playing bongos, things like that. Which, of course, there is this aspect of like tribal music bringing us in the zone, of course. And rituals are just permission slips for us to step into a state if we want it to be. And I did like the animation style. It was very trippy. It was very different to regular animation style. I loved when it went like stick figure black and white as he was floating through the different spaces. And that one character, I think his name was Terry or whatever, who was doing the counting, was trying to like track him down. I thought that was interesting, you know, this analytical guy who just wants to measure the numbers, tracking him down. Almost felt like a bit of a Matrix-y vibe, like a Agent Smith or something, you know? Like being able to have this very, very robotic type of character without humanity, without soul, chasing after the soul. Another thing which might be going really deep into it, and I don't know what you guys think of this, but you know, I believe that Lucifer, before he was banished from heaven, was the angel of music, right? So, I don't know how that relates or how much of an importance that is to this movie, but I just know that that's an interesting factoid, and we can reflect on that factoid, because it's like, yeah, what does that mean? Now, I'm not saying Disney's doing anything particularly deceptive here, though it can be, but I'm not saying this. Okay, you're allowed to make that interpretation of what you think that means. I think that the Soul movie was very, very interesting, uplifting, very light, fun to watch with your kids. So highly recommend it. I think it's a very deep concept, very profound. And the characters were cute, you know, it's just like, it's nice the world that they created there, this kind of like fluffy animated world, which was kind of transparent and see-through and fun at the same time, and it kind of felt like personal development seminar or something that they were like training them, which, all these things, I look at them and then I'm like, yeah, this is not the afterlife. This is real life, They're like elements of that, where it's like, this is just real life, My higher self is training me all the time, and they are my mentor, and they're doing a youth seminar of their own. So anyway, guys, I've gone on talking about this for quite a bit, so I'm going to end this video here, but if you found this helpful, if you want to talk to me about it, send me a message. Let's talk about this movie. If you watched it, let me know in the comments if you watched it. Have an amazing day. May the flow be with you, and stay legendary. I'll see you guys next time.